Well, I think the biggest expectation is stress. You know, total unrelenting stress. That's what the trials has always been about and never will stop being. Because I think most people know it's just so hard to make the Olympic team in the U.S. And so I think the expectations were, this is going to be 10 days of anxiety and stress and worry and uh, heartbreak and exhilaration and so many different emotions that come to fruition at the Olympic trials. And it's exactly what it was. You had heartbreak of people that were supposed to make it that didn't make it, and you had this great, stuff of an Alex Shackle or an Aaron Shackle making the team that wasn't expecting to make it. And it's just it always lives up to its billing. And then to have it a swimming pool in a football stadium made it even more exciting. I think my over under going into the meet was 1.5. I thought one or two would be broken. That's why I picked the over under at 1.5. But yeah, I mean, I knew a couple of records were not necessarily soft, but that based on what Gretchen Walsh did in NC2As and the way Reagan has been swimming in season, those two were certainly going to be looked at based on, Jack Alexi and what he did last summer. Chris Giuliano, I thought those two could go down. They didn't, but I thought they could go down. There were a couple in there that I thought would be susceptible. And it turns out that they were. I would probably say, right off the knee-jerk reaction would be Simone's 50 freestyle. That was the one that got us, going crazy. And then I think Reagan's 100 backstroke, to get that world record back, and for what she's been through the last couple of years, the emotional roller coaster she's had was really cool to see her grab that back. And then I think Alexi's 47 flat in the prelims was really cool. Yeah, I think those were the ones that kind of stood out to me, as far as just great races, great times, great outlooks. Whenever Katie swims, and I love watching Lily swim and Bobby. I mean, the list goes on and on about, how I love to watch some swimmers swim. Well, I don't think there's any such thing as dominate anymore. When you're talking dominate, the only person that I think quite literally will dominate is Katie in her 1500. I think that's the one and only event where, on paper anyway, there is, it all points to domination. But every other event, there's no such word as dominate. On paper, you probably would think Summer McIntosh in the 400 IM, the Aussie women, either one of them in the 200 free, O'Callaghan or Titmus. On the men's side, Leon Marchand's 400 IM maybe. And I'm not talking U.S. That's why U.S. Even Reagan Smith was her 50. She only broke it by a tenth. So she's not dominating. She might be the favorite. Gretchen Walsh might be the favorite in the 100 fly. Lily King might be one of the favorites in 100 breast, but there's no such thing as dominating. And the week events, I think, obviously the men's 400 freestyle is probably the weakest event. The 200 free somewhat for men, and the 100 free maybe for women, although, I think Kate Douglas is going to surprise a lot of people. Yeah, I don't think there's any real true glaring weakness for the women. I think they each have an opportunity to medal in almost every one of those events, except for maybe women's 200 freestyle. I would say probably is the weakest, more so than the women's 100. But certainly there are events that the U.S. is stronger in than others, like the women's 200 IM. They're really good in that. Great opportunity to get a couple of medals there. Men's 100 free is going to be great. So there are 7 relays at the Olympics. 3 men, 3 women, 1 mix. And I would say right now, I think the U.S. would be the favorite on probably 3 of them. Men's 400 free relay certainly should be the favorite. Both medley relays should be the favorite. And the mixed medley relay, they're probably the co-favorite. So I think the men's 800 free relay is going to be very good. I think the women's 800 free relay definitely has a chance at a medal. I think the weakest relay probably is the women's 400 free relay. But when I say weak, they're solid silver medal bets, so, only weak compared to what Australia has on paper. But I think the American women showed that they will be a lot better than people think they are. And if, 1 or 2 splits fall by the wayside for Australia, the U.S. women are going to be right there. Now, they're going to have to swim crazy. All 4 of them are going to have to be perfect. But I wouldn't count the U.S. out on any relay that they swim for gold. I wouldn't count them out. The U.S. has always risen to the occasion at the Olympics. If you look back historically, they've always won the most relays. They've been number 1 in the world of swimming for 60 years. That I don't think is going to change based on the system that the U.S. always measures it by. And that's like a best out of 3 system: total medals, gold medals, and point system. So the U.S. has been the best in 2 out of those 3 for 60 years. And I think they've only lost a gold medal count in 2 years, never in the Olympic year, dating back to 1956. So I don't think that's going to change. But Australia is thinking they're going to win the gold medal count, that's for sure. And that's the only thing they measure it by. So to be fair to them, that's what they're shooting for, is total gold medals. It's the Olympics. It's just that simple. I mean, the World Championships is big, and no doubt it's the biggest meet of the year, but really there's only one thing that counts in our sport, really. I mean, if you're a football player, only one thing counts in football, and that's the Super Bowl. You can go to the NFC Championship, but in the end, if you don't win the Super Bowl, it's you're not a failure as a football player, obviously, but you lack that pinnacle of success in your sport on your resume. So it's the same thing with the Olympics. I mean, the World Championships is the NFC Championship, but it's not the Olympics. So that's what the United States always shoots for in its quad, and that's not going to change here. Whether that means they're going to be out on top again, that's to be seen. But I know the difference between 2023 and the World Championships and the Olympics is night and day. Family. I think at the trials, it's so much about me, myself, and I. It's all about individual performances. But the Olympics is all about coming together as one unit. It's sort of like NC2As, right? You've been to NC2As and you know how really your individual performances don't matter at all. You're not looking at the clock, you're looking at what place I got and my teammate, what place they got. And I think that's true for the U.S., and that's one reason why they've been so successful, for so long, is the fact that they go in as one unit together. They don't think about a bunch of individuals. And for them to be successful, they have to do that. And so it's all about family.